it's very important that I explain everything here on the chart and how we really approach these markets. Now, I have Lululemon stock here, and I actually want to show you something really briefly here. Now, we can type in Lulu here to my market tree here, and this is actually a VantagePoint Intermarket analysis software. So what this software does is actually analyze the relationships between related markets and then produce a forecast for us to help us make trading decisions. Now, if I go into Lulu, I go into my properties here, I can click on Intermarkets, and this is the secret sauce, guys. This is what's extremely important to understand, and what most traders just absolutely completely ignore when they go and step in and start making trading decisions on a market. Now, what we're able to do here is we're actually using, it's a type of artificial intelligence. It's called neural networks. Now, it's a type of learning machine, and it can scan unbelievable amounts of market data. Now, one thing, and actually two things that separate us from a lot of these other things that you see in the market, recommendation services, subscription, things like this, other software products, is what this software does is actually has 2 patents on this approach. Those neural networks are applied to huge amounts of market data to find those significant relationships, whether those be positive correlations, negative correlations, leads, lags, and determines what are the most important markets of all the global markets, which are the most important ones that in this case affect our stock here for Lululemon. Now, you see what we're looking at here. We've got the S&P 500, the ETF, the short and ultra short actually. You've got a growth index, the Qs. You've got multiple currency pairs, the Japanese yen, the US dollar, crude oil, the S&P 500 contracts, individual companies, Coach, Ralph Lauren. What the software is able to do is identify all of these, significant market correlations and relationships, and there's a patent on one identifying those market relationships, but then weighing how each one of these markets affects those markets that you're getting ready to trade. So very important that you understand that, okay, well, before any of these values are plotted on the chart, before any of these forecasts come through, it's really analyzing all those relationships and determining, okay, well, how is the S&P, how is the dollar index, essentially, what should we make our trading decisions for the next trading day with all of that in mind. So simply the reality is that you really have to utilize technology to do this sort of approach, because it would simply be impossible to look at 30 markets every single evening. So here in Lululemon, I'll go ahead and explain everything on the chart here now. These are all daily bars and candles. So this actually works all off of end-of-day data. It comes through, plots forward, essentially a forecast for you to go ahead and make your trading decisions. Now, the blue line that you see on your screen, or actually let's start with the black line here. This black line that you see on the chart, that's a regular moving average. So SMA, it just plots the last 10 close prices, averages them together, and it's always going to be very reactive to the close, essentially. It's going to track where prices have already been. So, that's what we refer to as a lagging indicator. It's always going to, plot behind and lag behind where the market is. Now, the blue line that you see on your chart, though, that's VantagePoint's proprietary predicted moving average. So before that line is plotted, again, it's analyzing those 25 to 30 most closely related markets, how those markets are affecting, driving, and impacting the stock, in this case, the stock price of Lululemon, and then plotting forward, look, is essentially the moving average moving down relative to the actual or moving up, and that can help us really clearly indicate, hey, what is the overall direction of this market? Additionally, it doesn't lag behind. So when you're looking to get into trades, your timing is going to be vastly improved over traditional moving averages, which are simply always going to plot and react to where prices have already been and not look at any of these market relationships at all. So oftentimes they get fooled a lot more often than what you're going to see here. Now, another important thing to understand is it's important to note, the distance between these two lines. So when you have a lot of separation between that blue and the black line, it's indicating that essentially the prediction is far away from the actual, and you should expect a continuation in that direction. Additionally, when things pinch close together, it's telling you that, okay, well, that trend may be weakening, or that prediction essentially is not as strong as it would be if those lines were separated. Now, what we want to look for as traders, and utilizing this approach, is identify where these crossovers occur. Anytime that there's a crossover, it's really indicating to us that, okay, well, if that prediction, was below the actual moving average and has then moved now to above the moving average, Well, look, what that tells us is there's essentially a trend change, and therefore there's an opportunity for us to go ahead and get involved in a market and definitely want to take note of these sorts of trend changes. So it's very important. That's really what we want to be looking for. Now, before I go ahead, I'm going to move on to this next indicator at the bottom. But you can see here that using this approach of essentially just crossover to crossover, just in the past several weeks here, Lululemon has been doing quite well, about a 15–16% move to the upside. But certainly need to understand that this is when we need to be paying attention to the market and looking to go ahead and take those sorts of positions. So about a $60 stock, $10 move higher thus far. Now, let me go ahead and I'll explain this other indicator at the bottom of the screen here, because we really use these tools in tandem. It really offers a complete forecast for us to make trading decisions. Now, this indicator is what's called the predicted neural index. I can actually bring my cursor here, and you're going to go ahead and see P index, predicted neural index here. Now, this indicator can only be a value of a 1 or a 0. You see that we have that 1 or 0. The indicator goes up, down. It can only be one or the other. Now, what this indicator works as is it's an extremely accurate short-term forecasting tool. So it's very important to understand too that this is looking forward 2 trading days, so 2 candles ahead of time, and letting us know, look, is there overall some short-term strength or weakness in this market? Now, me personally, how I like to think of this and how I like to use it in trading is as a throttle, because I know, look, if I can determine the overall direction clearly, and then I use a short-term tool that's extremely accurate to essentially know over the next couple of days, do I want to be a buyer or a seller, you can go ahead and build a lot of trading strategies off that. But the whole point is that you're trading with a tool that is consistent and accurate at essentially forecasting these values for you so that you can make much better trading decisions every single day in the market. So what you're going to see here is, we get these crossovers from the software, and when we get those crossovers, we really want to get this confirmation from the neural index. So if we get that move to the upside, blue line over black line, and our neural index is also confirming that at a 1, we should go ahead and look to take opportunities, look to go ahead and get long the market essentially here in Lululemon. Now, this has turned out to be a really nice opportunity, but what you're going to notice is that you get about the 16% rally move higher, and things are still moving up as we speak. But what you're going to notice is that the software works really well at indicating that short-term strength or weakness in the market. So you see here that we get this candle right here, we get our neural index down to a 0, and we get a pullback in the market over the next couple days, but the blue line is still very, very removed from the black line. So the overall direction is still up, but you're going to have that early indication that says, look, maybe step aside, take some shares off, try to add back in at a lower price at a discount, but then once this neural index comes back up to a 1, again, getting a nice rally over the next 48 hours in an uptrend, and you see even just 4% move over 3 trading days once everything lines up and you get that push again. So, this is how the software, really plots everything forward. You can see here even direction, blue line still over black line, neural index down at a 0, but the overall direction saying, look, we're still moving higher. Now, what I'm going to do here is, and actually, let me ask you guys, does everyone understand everything that we've gone through there as far as, how we, essentially, the technology behind this blue and black line, but just understanding that, okay, well, blue line over black line, you're essentially forecasting forward higher prices, and then using the neural index in tandem. Does that make sense to you guys? Let me know. Type yes or no into that question box. And what I'm going to do, though, is now dig into, these individual markets, and then also look at how we can utilize these ETF groups to get even more confirmation and completely understand that, look, I want to be looking at, the semiconductors, or I want to be looking at the technology stocks or the healthcare stocks to really help us hone in on, let's weigh all these market correlations, make sure we got as much on our side, and look to push these trades. Now, I see a lot of yeses here. Excellent. Eli, Wilson, James, excellent, guys. So what I'm going to do here is I have another stock here for Acadia Pharmaceuticals, and I have a couple of things that I want to dig into here with you guys, and I hope you can just understand these basic concepts, because, I mean, if you leave this webinar, you start utilizing these concepts, these will certainly help you. But here in Acadia Pharmaceuticals, I want to go ahead and bring this up and actually bring up the biotechnology ETF. Now, what you got to remember here, guys, is that, when we plot for the biotechnology ETF, there's an entirely unique 25 set of intermarkets there. So you've got about 25 different markets that, are specifically affecting IBB, the biotechnology ETF, and then a different set of 25, which are known to more, more importantly, have effects on Acadia Pharmaceuticals. But when we use these things together, it can certainly help us get a much better indication there. Now, I see someone asking about other signals. Now, here's the thing is, I see a lot of traders out there using, 5, 6, 7 different indicators on their screen. So many traders are relying on tools that are overly redundant, and instead of getting better results by having essentially just a small amount of tools that are consistent and accurate at helping in your direction and your timing, they end up really confusing the issue in a really unfortunate way. So this is really how, when you have something that is analyzing all those market relationships, weighing these really important markets like the ETF groups, the pharmaceuticals, all these important things, the dollar index, crude oil, it's going to give you a big edge, and you're going to be able to essentially adapt with the market, because these lines are plotted for you every single day. You see this blue line, black line. As the market closes, that's going to move forward. And we're also going to get a new neural index reading to help us make those trading decisions off of. So here we have a chart, though, for Acadia Pharmaceutical, and I want to point out a couple areas of that we really take notice of. We've gotten this move to the downside, a crossover the downside in Acadia. But also you see the biotechnology ETF at about April 27th or so coming through and giving the crossover there. But look how weak the neural index is over this entire period. So you really know that as a trader, look, if I want to go ahead and trade any pharmaceutical companies or these biotechnology shares, I should really be looking at opportunities to the downside. And as that market moved lower, you really had no indication that said, look, want to be going ahead and taking any sort of positions to the upside. So this is very important, because as traders, when we need to decide, okay, well, should I be stepping aside of the market here and not getting involved with these sorts of markets and these sorts of trades? It's about an 18% move to the downside in just this individual market. But you see that, on the other side of things, when things turn around and you get these clear indications of crossover to the upside, neural index up at a 1, we can also, again, look at those ETF groups, and you're also going to see all of that strength. So when you can weigh these market relationships and understand that, okay, well, I'm getting crossovers as far as the ETF group, I'm seeing the similar crossover from the individual stock, and you're also getting a lot of strength from the neural index, so that every day as that market trades, you understand, hey, I can go ahead, add to my position, look to add to my position in Acadia or add to my position in the biotech ETF, and really ride out the duration of that move. We see, though, here we get a crossover on June 9th, so recently, and the neural index very, very weak here. So I just want to point that out, but then I want to zoom more closely into our Acadia Pharmaceuticals here. So we get that crossover. We have our short-term strength from the neural index saying, look, go ahead and get long, and as long as that blue line remains above the black line, stay in that market. So you get about a 27% move to the upside on a $30 stock. That's easily, $1,600, $2,400 on just a few hundred shares there. So this is what can really help you out. And we see actually, to the downside here, cross over the downside, moving lower. If you reverse your position, about a 12% move lower as well. So this is how things can really help you out, really give you an edge on understanding, look, what direction do I want to be trading the market, regardless of, my trading strategy, and then using tools like the neural index to understand, look, this is where everything's clear, saying go ahead, get long the market. You see the market, blue line and black line narrowing, but it's still saying, look, stay in this trend, and go ahead and make sure that you ride out for the duration of that move. And so this is what costs traders a lot of money when they're going ahead and getting into the markets, getting out of the markets too early on a little bit of short-term weakness, and not able to determine when a true trend change has actually gone ahead and occurred. So a couple more things here I can go ahead and pork through. We'll go ahead and I really just want to focus on these ETFs, because this is where a lot of these moves have been really quite clear for us. Again, here in the biotechnology ETF, crossover the downside just a few days ago here on the 9th. The neural index extremely weak, saying, okay, look for more of those pharmaceutical companies that you can short, and there's been really great opportunities on Infinity Pharmaceuticals. So you see at the exact same day here on the 9th, you're going to get these crossovers to the downside, neural index confirming that move, and these have been some pretty phenomenal moves to the downside. In just about 9 trading days, about a 73% move lower. So you imagine you got a $5 a share market, you probably trade about 2,000 or so shares, able to make around $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in just about 9 trading days there. Now, that's just digging in a little bit to the pharmaceutical market there. I want to go over one other thing and then quickly actually explain that, I've showed you that, we can utilize these, essentially these predicted moving averages, these crossovers, but, regardless of the markets you're trading, you may have, a couple hundred, few hundred markets that you want to trade. You're not going to have to look and scan through chart after chart and look for these crossovers, looking down at the neural index. There's actually a scanning feature in all of this that's going to present these markets to you, so that on June 9th, essentially, when we see these crossovers from essentially the biotech ETF, we're also going to get those at the same time on Infinity Pharmaceuticals here. It's all going to come through at the same time and be very clear for you, so understand, where should I be paying attention? Where are the trend changes? Where are those opportunities happening now in the market? So if we go ahead, and I'll bring up one more of these ETF examples here, and this is actually one that I really like, because we were talking, we do these webinars, every week or so, and you've gotten this crossover here in the semiconductor ETF, and you see that we've gotten a push lower. We got this pullback in the market. Neural index very weak, saying over the next couple of days expect those weak prices, and things straightened out. Now, this is a really nice rally higher, and a really clearly, forecasted higher. A lot of separation between the blue line and the black line. Neural index strongly up at a 1, and once it goes down to a 0 and you get those crossovers, seeing that weakness. But about a 10% move just in that semiconductor ETF, and we were looking at Cyprus, Taiwan Semiconductor, all these things. But this is what's so important here, is that here's Cyprus Semiconductors, and even though that it understands that, okay, well, the overall ETF has actually just seen a recent crossover, we've seen those other semiconductor companies moving higher, but Cyprus Semiconductor, here was our crossover to the upside for essentially that move from the ETF. And it was a really nice rally higher, about a 13% move, actually got up to about 17% at one point. But what you're going to notice is that things have not reversed here, and it's still forecasting the market to trend lower, and it hasn't been a good time specifically for this market. So, this is how these tools aren't going to get as confused as other tools that are essentially just going to track price action. You see that a lot of separation still between the blue line and the black line, and a ton of weakness from the neural index, saying, look, over the next couple of days as this moves forward, you want to maintain those short positions. If you're looking to go ahead and get long semiconductors again, it's just not here in Cyprus. So, this is where it's really going to help you when these crossovers come through and you need to go ahead and essentially take action on a market. You're going to understand that, hey, I've identified that direction, and then I can easily go ahead and essentially, push that position at the right time. But you see how weak this neural index gets at the top of this move, essentially from this day on, saying average prices expect things to be weaker, turn around and the market reverses. So you're definitely prepared for those sorts of reversals, and you can, make sure that you're keeping as much of those paper gains and turning them into realized gains rather than sticking in the market too long and giving a lot of these things back. So let me go ahead, and I have a little bit more time here. I want to go ahead and demonstrate that, when these crossovers come through the software, there's a feature in the software that is going to scan through all this for you. So literally each evening, you're simply going to have to open up your software. It takes about 10, 15 minutes, and it's going to present you with all of these fresh opportunities in the market, and then you can be very selective as far as which opportunity that you want to go ahead and trade. So I can go ahead, I'll open up, let's see, financials here. Go ahead and save this portfolio. And what it's going to do is it's going to load up the entire financial sector. So we have a lot of individual opportunities inside of that sector that we can go ahead and take advantage of. Now, just another reminder here, it's like, we do forecast for U.S. stocks, ETFs, the futures, and the Forex market. A lot of traders, most of the traders trade in the U.S. stocks, but if you do trade in the Forex, if you trade in the futures, the software works the same on any market. So me, myself, I trade every market, futures, Forex, commodities, as well as stocks. And you can trade all those markets the same way, because whether it's to the upside or the downside, this analysis is really working the same way. Essentially create that forecast that you can go ahead and make your trading decisions off of that output. Now, As far as the scanning feature goes, this is extremely helpful because, in the evenings you've got, maybe about 80 or 90 markets with all the Forex. There's about, 20 plus Forex markets, about 70 futures markets. That only takes about 10 minutes to scan. So I go ahead and do that in the evening. But in the early mornings, I go ahead and get up and run essentially these stock scans. And you're going to see how quick and easy this is. So we've got we'll see how many stocks we have, but we can go ahead and scan for these crossovers. I can change this condition to 1. So we see medium-term cross days ago. We want to set that value to a value of 1, and it's already scanned through about 114 markets, narrowed us down to about 19. But we want to go ahead and make sure that if we're looking for long positions, we want that crossover to be up, so we want it to the upside. And then again, we want to utilize that highly accurate neural index indicator to get that confirmation. So that can really narrow down what markets that we're looking at here. And so you can see we've already gone through 114 markets. We've scanned through for these specific conditions that we've already gone over. 11 markets have been found. So you can go ahead and identify these markets, essentially whichever markets you want to go ahead and look to go ahead and trade. But the whole point is that you're identifying these markets, one, at the right time, and that you clearly identify what direction you want to be trading the market. And this gets back to that very first thing that we started on, improving your timing and direction in the market. And really how we're utilizing that is we're utilizing this technology to analyze these global market relationships, but take that valuable information and then generate a forecast for us so that we can make better, wiser trading decisions every single day that we're involved in the market. So this is just what's so important. It cuts down on so much of the time and really takes all the emotions out of the trade. So if you guys think, I scanned through all those markets, showed you how to do this in about 10 minutes, does this look like something that you can handle? I mean, can you see yourself scanning for these opportunities, identifying crossover condition, my neural index, understanding that, okay, I've got my direction, I've got my short-term strength or weakness in the market. But let me know, guys, is this something that you guys think you can handle? Type in that question box, yes or no. And, literally 10 minutes, we've pretty much gone through how to interpret these forecasts, the information that they're based off, and essentially how to scan for this stuff very, very quickly. So, it looks like we've got a little over 100 of you still here. I'm pretty confident that, look, if you leave the webinar today, start looking at those ETF groups. It kind of works the same way in commodities. The grain markets move in tandem. Looking at those related markets and starting to understand and think a little bit more creatively about, getting more confirmation for your trades. I know that information is going to help you be a better, wiser trader. But guys, utilizing this approach and this technology is certainly something that can change your life, change your trading in a big way for the better. And again, make sure that you're making those better trading decisions every single day, whether it's on your entries getting into the market, holding on to those markets for the duration of trends, and really just understanding, hey, where are the odds in my market for this next trading day?